Over the last 3 months, I spent over $7,000 and showed my ads over 2 million times to Clark County residents. So far, that drove 2 solid conversations with an estimated pipeline of about $80,000. But I'm not the best at sales, so unfortunately, I didn't get close any of those quite yet. Fortunately, I got to get 2 increases on my current accounts, and also I got a win back. That increased my runway, which also increased my risk tolerance. So right now, I am willing to spend a little bit more on my advertising campaign. The main problem is capacity. Let's say I closed those 2 accounts and I was able to manage an extra $80,000 in marketing spend. I didn't know if the operations can handle it without me getting directly involved in like the day-to-day. The one thing you have to learn about marketing agencies and like most consulting agencies as a whole is we usually have very high margins, but our customer acquisition cost is a lot. So while we might only be spending 30, 40 cents on the dollar for labor, we might also be having to spend another 30 cents on the dollar for just customer acquisitions. So that's 70% of our revenue just completely gone right off the bat between labor and customer acquisitions. So my goal once starting this agency was really trying to get the skill up so we can increase our operating leverage. If our agency is outperforming our competitors, we can actually charge a premium for that. Because we're directly involved in generating revenue for our clients, we have a lot of leverage if we're able to produce results. The difference between a poor quality agency and a high quality agency in terms of performance isn't 20%, 30%, 40%. We're talking 5 or 10 times better. So every single small business owner is trying to find this 5 to 10x marketing agency, but they're very rare. So I'm trying to get the quality of my programs to actually be at that level so I can be charging these premiums. And the reason why we want to do that is because that gives us more operating leverage. So what will happen in this situation long-term is I'm going to have to pay a lot more in labor cost. My labor cost might be 2 times higher, but because the talent of my labor is so rare, what I'm able to do is actually charge a 3 to 4x multiplier, making it so that I'm making a lot more money whenever labor is working. So there's really 2 different roles when it comes to actually doing any of this digital marketing. You have people who are doing content creation, and that can be, graphic design, photography, videos, any kind of content that can support our digital marketing channels. That's the content creator's job. The thing about content creators is the barrier to entry is so low, and also a lot of people enjoy doing it. So it's a very fun activity. So people are basically bidding themselves down. So for content creators, we can't charge that much as an agency because that's not what the market is charging. We're going to have to be on the higher end just because of the fact that our content creators are going to have to understand, strategy, because they're going to be working on small accounts. So we can't just have a senior oversee everything. We need all of the juniors to be a certain level where they can actually be doing strategy diagnostics when it comes to actually like the planning of content, which is really important post Andromeda, considering how we have to make content to serve certain target demographics. And we have to see which ones resonate based off of the content we create. And so that will require some level of knowledge that we're going to have to pay a premium for on my end. So we're going to have to charge a premium for that for our customers. But 110 is around average, maybe slightly above average. So it's not too far off. And then we have our technical specialists. So these are the guys who do your website, advertising, data analysis. Some of them, once we get a little bit farther along, are going to start doing some like more heavy data science and really trying to create like more dashboards for our larger customers. But I think the only person at that level right now is me, and I don't really want to get directly involved in like data science and having to be the only one in the agency able to do it. So I'd rather just kind of not really offer that unless it's a client that I've worked with long term and they're not going to ask me to do this, constantly, if I have a good relationship with them. Technical specialists are heavily involved in generating revenue for our clients. So they're the ones going to be doing your website, managing your advertisements, doing all the data analysis, and also doing the SEO. These guys are going to be kind of a jack of all trades. while also being proficient in every single area. So here's the main problem. And I think you guys can already see it. Content creators, I'm only able to charge about $110 an hour. How much can I pay these guys? Honestly, not a lot, considering the fact that I still have to pay for, customer acquisitions. I have to pay my overhead. And that's going to make it so I'm really not taking a whole lot of profit when it comes to the content creator side and like selling content. If anything, it's honestly around a break even when it comes to customer acquisition as well. And it just is good for the clients, and it keeps everything centralized, which is what the clients really want. I've worked with a few agencies in the past on certain accounts, and I will say I didn't really like the experience. I'd rather have everything in-house, just because of the fact that we have different styles. Like a lot of agencies at the SMB level have very different styles. So one thing is we have to constantly shift our budget based off of client needs. So usually if you're running an in-house team, you have set budgets for every quarter or every year. And that set budget allows you to, and that set budget dictates your labor, right? If you have $1 million doing SEO, you might allocate $300,000, which might be 2 to 3 employees, depending on seniority level. And you can basically have that throughout the year. And then next year you might have to change the budget, and you might have to hire or get rid of some of that labor. And the reason why they do that is because they need to keep, labor kind of consistent, because everything's in-house. With our clients, to be as effective as possible, we're going to have to limit hours for our guys consistently. And the best way to do that is not with in-house hires until we reach certain levels. Instead, it's actually through subcontractors. So let's say we have a client that's doing $5,000 a month in SEO, and they're not really doing anything else. What we might have to do is take that SEO budget and push it into short-term advertising. And what that does to us is we increase the hourly rate, because advertising is usually more per hour than SEO in terms of what we can charge, but the hours get reduced a ton. So instead of doing 40 hours at $250 an hour for SEO, we might be doing 6 hours at $300 an hour for advertising. And all the extra money goes to those advertising platforms like Google and Meta. So we're taking money away from the agency and giving it to these other platforms, right? But it's in the best interest of our clients. And to be able to make those calls without constantly having to lay people off internally is using subcontractors. So I'm looking for people who are trying to get into the field, like business majors, marketing majors, or I'm looking for people who are very talented and who are just looking for some money on the side. So Nithya goes to Indiana State, which is top 5 school for marketing, very intelligent, but she doesn't have a lot of time. She has a lot of different programs she's doing. And so for her, she's working about 12 hours a week. At the $110 an hour range, she's gonna be hitting about $5,500 in revenue. So our agency is capped at $5,500 a month when it comes to content creation. That's why right now I've been trying to go find a local subcontractor when it comes to content creation. If I can just get 1 or 2 people who can act as subcontractors for me when it comes to content creation, I can probably get it up to about $20,000, $15,000. And at that level, I can probably do about $50,000 to $80,000 a month and not really have to worry too much about fulfilling any of the content needs. Now, when it comes to my technical specialist, I have Justin. Justin is a marketing major over at Cal Poly. So he's gonna be working remote as well too. Really sharp guy. Justin's gonna be graduating this year, which is really nice. So we'll be able to expand his hours when that happens. Hopefully I can afford to hire him full time. That's my goal. That's my goal. I want that guy. And then I also have Zach. And Zach actually lives over in England, but I've actually mentored a ton of people when it comes to business and marketing. And so me and him have previous history. I already mentored him. I'm like, okay, let me go bring you in as a sub. Now you can actually try to get some experience in the field. And hopefully I can bring him on as well too. Both Zach and Justin, super sharp guys, really like them, great workers. They're the type of guys where when we get into business, it's like intensity for like an hour straight. And then right afterwards, it's just like, so how was your day? No, great guys, great guys. And with them, they can produce so much revenue, and also they have a lot more hours than Nithya. So Justin can do about $30,000 a month. Zach can do about $60,000 a month. So total, we're looking about like a $96,000 a month capacity when it comes to how much revenue we can do, but we're considerably limited because of the content side. So I need some more content creators. So if you know anyone, let me know. So right now I still have, a higher risk tolerance because I'm cash flow positive every month now, even with my current advertising spend. So what I really want to be doing is scaling. The main problem is I don't know if I can fulfill all the orders with only being able to fill about $5,500 a month in content creation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of hold off on increasing my spend until I can find some subcontractors when it comes to content. And then once I find that content creator, then I'm gonna start scaling my advertising, both with how much content I'm making and also with my advertising budget.